Hi, welcome back to Tumblr circa 2011, where multi-million-dollar corporations try to understand alien dicks. I'm your host, Kat.
And I'm Chi.
We're gonna fucking talk about Homestuck.
Oh, thank God. Hey there.
Hi. Do you want
Would you like to talk about Homestuck?
I have to go. I gotta go. My mom said I gotta come home right now. So, we have things to talk about.
We do.
So, when was the year we first read Homestuck?
I don't remember exactly, but I believe it was 2011 or 2012.
Wait, so how did you find out about Homestuck? Oh, you told me that earlier too.
I found out about Homestuck through a friend of ours.
Yeah.
Who cosplayed Homestuck, and I saw the pictures online and thought it looked really cool.
Yeah, and that was in middle school.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
So what about you? How did you find out about Homestuck?
I found out about Homestuck through like online communities because I was on DeviantArt a lot, and I saw like pictures of the trolls and shit. And about this time, like when I first got into Tumblr, is when I like actually got an interest in it. And I have here written down that I got into it when I was in 7th grade, which is crazy to think about. I was like literally the exact age of the characters.
Whoa, that's wild.
Yeah. Cool podcast.
So when you were first reading, like what was your like kind of first impression?
I thought it was really funny. Like the Zeus Smell Poop Lord is literally the funniest joke ever written.
If you're 12.
Are you telling me you don't think Zeus Smell Poop Lord is funny right now?
It is kind of funny. It's not the funniest.
Listen.
Yeah, I also thought it was funny from the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people who was like, it didn't get funny until Act 5.
Yeah.
Fuck off. Act 1 was hilarious.
People who skip to Act 5 are wrong and weak, and I will kill them. That's a threat.
Watch out. She's on her way.
Oh, I think the second page of Homestuck, like, if you think, like, the second page of Homestuck is at least somewhat entertaining or funny, you will have a good time.
The one that just says, try again, smartass?
Yeah, like, I just think it's so clever, because it's, like, it's giving you the option in a text scenario where you have no control to do something, and it's like, of course, the first thing that anyone would do is type in something really fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Zeus Smell Poop Lord, come on.
It definitely sets the tone.
It really does.
Immediately. Because
Yeah.
the first panel's kind of serious-ish.
I mean, yeah.
It's not funny.
Set up. Yeah.
Like, it's
just
this
straightforward.
boy's birthday.
Yeah.
What's his name? And you're just like, haha, Zeus Smell Poop Lord.
It's like, fucking idiot, bitch ass. Stop. I know you're 12. I know you're 12 when reading this.
Speaking of which, what was your favorite plot line when you first read it?
Ooh.
So by that I mean either like a act or like just a general plot line.
Okay, the thing that like stood out to me the most, this was like before I like truly caught up to Homestuck, it was the scenes with Tavros and Vriska, where Vriska is like first dying on her quest bed, and Tavros has to like write out while she's like mind controlling him. And he like writes so hard that he like starts writing in his own blood.
Oh my gosh.
It was like so fucked up, but like because their blood was like different colors, it was like so artistically interesting. And like just everything surrounding that situation was so fucking interesting. And I was like, wow, this is the height of literature. But I thought it was just really cool and intriguing as an edgy 13-year-old.
Yeah. I think when I was first reading it, the part that I thought was my favorite part was around like Act 2 and 3 when they're exploring their lands.
Oh,
I thought that part was really cool.
Oh my god, yes, you're so correct.
I obviously liked Part 5. I mean, Act 5.
Part 5.
I liked Act 5 because everyone loves Act 5.
Yeah.
But I really like when they're like, when you're first reading it and you're like, what is happening? I don't understand. And then they get to their world and you like see Loas for the first time. You're like,
yeah, Loas is fucking cool looking. Yeah.
All the lands, all of the beta kits have really cool lands. Well, in general, all lands are cool.
Yeah.
The land of Xenon, I don't remember which one. That one's a really cool land.
All of the alpha kids have really cool lands.
Yeah.
The only good part about this section.
The sprites are pretty good too. Aerosol's sprite gives me life.
Aerosol's part is really funny. Arqueen. This is my favorite character.
Fafetta is the best character in Homestuck.
Dear sweet precious Fafetta.
Speaking of which, who's your favorite character the first time you read?
Oh, it was
or favorite characters?
John and Jade for sure.
Wow, how Prospit of you.
What can I say?
Did you have a favorite troll?
Good question. I think it was Tavros. Like in the very beginning, it was Tavros because he was like sweet and like cute.
Yeah.
And I wanted to dote on him. But I also really grew interested in Feferi and Aradia.
Feferi was your favorite. Don't lie.
I mean, well, like the very first time I read Homestuck, I was like, Tavros so cute and PBJ. But Feferi, definitely, because she's a good girl. And she's also like associated with Jade at certain points. And I love Jade more than I love myself, even.
So my favorite character when I first read was Rose. For very weird reasons. Because I related to her like situation in her childhood. And my favorite troll was Terezi. Like,
I love Terezi too.
Terezi's amazing.
Terezi is amazing. Teresbian.
Teresbian.
Say it louder for people in the back.
Now I have a completely different favorite characters, but I still appreciate.
Kind of. Well, whenever I first read Homestuck, Jake English didn't exist. So. Well, he existed, but only in one letter. Yeah. Which is fucking crazy to think about, because at the time, I had no idea. I thought it was just the grandpa. I was like, cool, grandpa.
At the time that I read that, I literally did not know what was going on. Like, I was like, what? And then I moved on. Yeah. It's very Jake English.
I feel like it's a really common experience in like people who read Homestuck when they're young. They're just like, I don't know what's going on. Sometimes it's funny, and these trolls are kissing each other, and I like that.
That's probably what I was thinking.
That's definitely what I was thinking.
So do you, we should talk about why we decided to reread.
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
Okay.
Explain the situation that got us into reading it.
So here's the situation. So there are...
Wait, hold on. Do you ever think about how Jane is a Parks and Rec fan?
Yeah, and so is Dirk.
That's fucking crazy. I hadn't seen Parks and Rec the first time.
I hadn't seen it the first time I read Homestuck.
Yeah. Little Sebastian is like, he's there.
Yeah, he's like a major minor character.
You're correct.
And he's named after Parks and Rec horse.
The most important character in Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, sorry.
So there are multiple factors that probably went into our rereading of Homestuck. Among which being like Hive Swap existing. And,
finally.
The Homestuck Renaissance and cringe culture finally ending for once and all, hopefully. So we ended up hanging out with a friend a few months ago and who had never heard of Homestuck before in his entire life. So we tried to explain it to him, and then we were like, hey, wait a minute. Homestuck is good.
I miss it so much, actually.
And then we reread it separately and together.
But like, yeah, we were reading it like on our own time, but we both like read it really fast and we're like constantly talking to each other about it.
Snapchatting each other constantly. Like, oh my god, look at Kanaya.
God, every day.
Yeah. I'm really glad that I did that.
Me too.
Yeah. Homestuck, I feel like, has gotten a reputation for being shitty. It's not actually as shitty as people make it out to be.
Possessed by the soul of Karkat.
So when we actually did reread it, was there anything like different when you read it that you felt from the first time you read it?
Everything. Because it's just like you get a completely different perspective on it when you're older, right?
Yeah,
it's
for
like,
sure.
When you're a kid and you're like going through those experiences, it's like, damn, this is like solidifying like my view of the world and like who I am and shit. And now we have our views of the world and who we are, kind of. So like we come back to it and like see ourselves and also these characters that we love, like in a completely new light.
Yeah, I feel like I have a very different point of view on a lot of characters now that I'm an adult, quote unquote.
Is it too early to talk about Bro Strider?
We're not talking about Bro Strider.
Okay, I do want to talk about like the old fandom perception of him because it used to be cool to like Bro Strider.
Okay, I feel like that all has to do with a lot of fans being like 12.
Exactly.
And like and also a lot of fans being in a similar situation as Dave in the very beginning of Homestuck, where you're in a similar situation to him and you're kind of ignoring or glorifying it.
Yeah.
So you'd be like, oh, this is normal. This is a normal situation.
Yeah.
Which is very sad.
Yeah.
Well, please let's not talk about Bro Strider ever again.
No, it's just interesting to think about Bro Strider when you're 12 and he's like, whoa, wacky. Like, that's so crazy. Homestuck is so, like, wacky and, like, nuts. And then you come back to it as an adult and you see the conversations with Dave and Dirk where Dave is, like, hurting so much. And he has no way to just cope with that. It's hard.
Oh my god. I can't handle this.
It's too early to talk about Dave.
Oh my god. The way you see an adult is different from the way you see an adult when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Because as an adult, I'm like, wow, Bro Strider is kind of fucked up.
Bro Strider should not have taken care of a child.
Like, in any capacity at all. Anyway, please.
I forgot what the question was.
I forgot to.
Welcome back to our podcast.
So we talked about the differences in our thoughts the second read through.
Oh, so I also, I feel like there's a lot of characters when I was younger, I kind of took it like a surface level. Mm-hmm. And now that I could like just dig a little bit deeper into like their motivations, I appreciate some of the other characters a lot more, like characters that I didn't care about before. Like my very first read of Homestuck, I hated Vriska because she was a bitch to Tavros.
My first read of Homestuck, I hated Vriska. My second read of Homestuck, I hated Vriska. Now I like Vriska.
I love Vriska. She's so, I think about her a lot. She's really interesting. Sad.
She's more complex than I gave her credit for when I was like 13.
When you're 13 and you're watching her be mean to a kid in a wheelchair, it's like, yeah, of course you're probably gonna hate her. She's mean a bit.
As someone who was Tavros at 13.
Yeah, exactly. As someone who like related a lot to Tavros, it's like, why is Vriska doing all this?
As a Taurus, I'm personally offended.
And then you grow up and you're like, wow, Vriska had a really bad childhood and she's trying to fit into this society that's constantly screwing everyone over.
It's like, aren't we all?
Yeah, she's just trying to get a fucking leg up. And you know what? She does.
There are a lot of characters that I interpreted way differently the second time.
Oh, yeah.
Being capable of literary analysis and critical thought now.
Being able to think
somewhat. I'm not capable of thought. I'm sorry.
That was a misunderstanding.
Yeah, I view Jake English a whole lot differently.
God. God, when I was 13, I was like, I want to fuck Jake English. Now I'm like, I am Jake English.
And you want to fuck him.
Well, you know.
I'm trying to think of how many characters I see in a different light, but I think it's like all of them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very different than I was in 2011.
I mean, hold on. I feel like I'm both very different and also still exactly the same. Like my internal thought process is the same. It just goes a lot more.
So now that we've grown somewhat mentally,
debatable,
somewhat mentally, who was your favorite character now that you're somewhat different?
Now that I'm somewhat different,
like as an adult.
It's hard to say
favorite. Still Jake
now,
English.
It's still Jake English and Jade Harley and John Egbert.
Prospit team.
I love them, except Jane. Fuck Jane. But to be fair, I used to love Jane, and now
that was before she had
a
character.
You're right. That was when I was projecting what I wanted onto her. But it pretty much is. I also love Dirk and Dave a lot more. I feel like I always like default to hipster mentality when I get into like big things. I'm like, I have to show the character that gets the least amount of love, the love that I have for them.
That is like, evident in your Token Rambu fandom.
Yeah. But because Dave was the most popular character at the time, it was like, you know what? I'm curious about her.
I kind of felt the same way about Dave because I didn't understand his character at all.
Yeah, he's more complex than 12-year-olds even want credit for.
I think people like Dave Strider when in 2012 because they're like, oh, he's so cool and sexy.
He wears sunglasses all the time and he has a sword. That's so cool.
I mean, it is cool to have a sword.
It's so fucking cool. Everything about him is cool.
Dave Strider's cool, but not for the reasons why we thought he was cool.
Yeah, I mean, he is also cool for the reasons he thought he was cool, but also totally not.
Dave Strider's a literal prodigy. And that's not talked about. He's capable of like photorealistic drawings on paint at like age 12. Like you can see in his like Stoner Lou like comic, he like does like photorealistic images of guys and stuff.
He draws sexy naked ladies when he's 12, and honestly, me too.
He's really good at like creating music, and he's like not even at his full like potential.
Yeah,
he's amazing.
He is amazing.
Maybe 12-year-old girls in 2011 were right to like Dave Strider. That's all I'm saying.
They were right.
Yeah, so Dave is definitely skyrocketed up my favorite character.
And also just his development, like since the last time I was into Homestuck, has like
he's just
gotten even better. He's just such a good boy.
His character development is just amazing.
Also, fucking Kanaya. I always forget to talk about Kanaya, but I've always loved Kanaya so fucking much.
Yeah,
what kind of reaction was that?
She's good. I like her.
She fucking chainsaws people in half and then turns her chainsaw into lipstick and then puts the lipstick on while blood is still in it.
She's a badass.
Sorry, I thought of You Can't Fight the Homestuck. It stopped me in my tracks. Everything about that scene is amazing. Kanaya can just like turn the tide of a situation instantly. She has like so much power that she like holds back because she doesn't want to like step on people's toes.
Kanaya went off.
When Kanaya goes off, it's the best fucking parts of Homestuck, and I love her.
Yeah.
Green Space Girls, call me.
Yeah.
I have feelings for you.
Turn on your location.
They're in space, bro.
Where are my space girls at? They're in space.
Love the kiss up space for Jade Harley.
So, what about, the plot line?
Talking about Homestuck, what about the plot line?
Shut up.
Dirk said this.
If you mention
Dirk one more time, he's gonna come into the podcast and take it over.
Maybe so. Do you have any like scenes or like arcs that you appreciate way more than you did before, or are they similar?
Not Jade.
Always
Jade. But you know, Rose going grimdark was a lot more interesting this time because I like understood why more. Because the first time it was just like, whoa, like a dark girl, she go edgy, it's cool, and she like gets a new like looking appearance, and people draw fan art, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But now it's like I feel like her latent destructive abilities were like so much more apparent to me this time.
Yeah.
She's so fucking cool.
I definitely didn't understand that the first time I read like what was going on.
Yeah, it was really easy to like overlook what she was saying by like being distracted by the way she said it, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like she's so like flowery and like very proper in the way she says things, but the thing she says is basically let's fucking destroy this place.
No,
very cool with her.
No, destroy sperm. You're so sexy.
Also, more about Rose, but the first time like Rose and Roxy are talking to each other was like the first time I cried on the reread this time. I don't know why. It was like a very like pleasant conversation for them, but it was just like it felt so good to like see them.
Yeah.
After like they had like so many misconnections like with each other in their lives. It's just like they can like finally like communicate with each other on like a real level.
Yeah, that's beautiful for them.
It was beautiful. It was like so, and it was just like it stood out to me more than the others because like one, it was like the first one that happened of like the beta alpha reunions.
Yeah.
And just like the parts where Rose is like, do you like wizards? And Roxy's like, I fucking love wizards. And like there's like the instant understanding from Rose where it's like,
thank God.
Yeah, I get it now.
Finally an answer.
It's just like, I don't know, it was handled in like a very satisfying and sweet way.
It was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, it's very interesting to reread Homestuck and then get to the parts you haven't read yet and just be like, oh, yes.
Yes.
Dirk and Dave. I know I said no Dirk, but like
I
Dirk and
Dave
conversation is probably like one of my top 5 favorite scenes.
Oh yeah,
in Homestuck. Really good. That's really good. Something I really appreciated, and I think I definitely cried on that part. I didn't cry on Rose and Roxy.
I mean, it was like a very surprising cry because it was just such a sweet and like wholesome conversation for them to have. I was like, yeah, it was just so good, and like good things rarely happen in Homestuck. So I was like, fuck.
Another sweet and wholesome conversation that I loved was Dave and Roxy. Yeah. When they have the lightning round, I just thought it was really cute.
I love the lightning rounds.
Also another thing that I love, now that I've finished Homestuck and gotten way farther than was previously possible because it didn't exist.
Yeah.
When I was doing it. When Roxy and Rose meet, and Roxy's talking about Rose, and it's like, wow, you sound a lot like Dirk.
Yeah.
I was like, she's so right.
Yeah.
She is like Dirk. I love this. It's very subtle, I feel like.
You gotta read the epilogue.
You can't make me. Yeah, I think it's really interesting because a lot of people, this is not at all the topic of our podcast,
keep going,
but a lot of people like they treat the humans as if they're not parents but ancestors to the beta kids.
Yeah.
So they'll be like, Dirk is Dave's father, and then they'll forget like Roxy is his mom. But I feel like once you like actually like look at them, they're like actually have a lot of overlap between like the parent and child figures, and I did not see that at all my first time.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I love that about them. Yeah. I thought it was so interesting. Strylons especially. I feel like Jane is the outlier. We're like
Jane is always the outlier.
Jane.
We'll save that for another episode. There's a lot of stuff we could say about Jane.
The first conversation with like John and Jake is the funniest fucking thing in the world to me. I know I just think of that Vine where it's like, I like movies.
I like movies. How do you feel about World Peace?
It's good. Literally the conversation. It's so funny. Prospit Dreamers don't think. They don't think.
Name one time a Prospit Dreamer has thought.
Anytime they think, they're immediately like, nope, gotta stop that.
File that one away.
John literally says that at some point. It's so funny.
Isn't it when he's talking to Carquette and Dave?
Yeah, about Terezi. He's like, whoa, better never think about that again. They're like, dude, no. Dave has been dealing with that his whole life. He's like, buddy. That's also one of my favorite conversations.
Me too.
As a huge ex-John Dave shipper.
Ex-John Dave shipper?
I mean, I still like them as a ship, but it's not the same because now Dave Cat exists in his canon, and seeing them happy together in canon.
I would like to state for the record that I've been a Dave Cat shipper since 2012.
Yeah.
And Cat has been a Dave Cat shipper for like a month.
Okay, it's worth saying that they were my no TP. Like, the go-to, like, no TP, I don't want this to happen. Like, since 2011.
Yeah.
And that mostly comes from before when they were on the Meteor together, and they had one conversation, and it annoyed me that people were like, they would be so good together because they're like hot and cute. And it's like, shut the fuck up.
They weren't wrong.
They weren't wrong. They were absolutely correct, and that's what made me the angriest.
Welcome back to Therapy Stuck.
But just seeing them love each other so much, it's like I really can't stay mad
I feel like we could have an entire episode where I talk about Dave Cat for an hour.
Let's do it. Dave's Cat time.
I can't handle it. I think I'd cry.
You will.
Yeah. So there's a very different energy on the internet and the fandom now that things are way different on the internet. Yeah. So how are you in the fandom? Now versus then.
I haven't interacted with the fandom. I've just been like observing, but it seems like a lot a lot less hectic now that it's not full of like bandwagoning 13-year-olds that like just got on it because they saw sexy aliens kissing, right?
What else do people read Homestuck?
You're so right. Like, I don't know, back, like, we were watching the videos from, like, the cons from 2011 the other day.
Yeah.
And it was, like, over 100 people in one area. And it was, like, that's so many different people to be in one area. And, like, that's a really interesting dynamic to, like, feel like you have something in common with so many other people at one time.
Yeah.
But then when it comes down to it, you don't really have that much in common. It's just, like, you all read this thing and have different opinions on it. There was like so much infighting after like that sense of family.
Yeah.
And now that it's like a lot smaller and less people are talking about it, it feels like the people that really cared and like really saw what was good in it are the ones that like are still around. And that's really cool to see.
Yeah, I think the Homestuck fandom is just as passionate, if not more passionate, than it was back when we were babies.
Yeah.
But I think that they're more spread out. And maybe that's better.
Yeah. It's so interesting to like come across someone who used to be a Homestuck and you're like, you're the same ilk. I understand something about you that no one else understands.
Yeah, like it's not probably ever going to be the same as it was in like 2012 where you would have a meetup at a con and there'd be like 400 Homestucks there.
Yeah.
But I feel like more now than before that there's kind of I feel more connected to the Homestuck community than I did before, and that has to do in part with the fact that Discord exists now.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten into any like Homestuck Discord groups because I've just been hermiting myself away from the internet lately.
Yeah, before there was not really any kind of like chat thing you could do to like talk directly to fans unless you followed them on Tumblr.
Yeah, and like private message someone like one-on-one.
Now chat rooms exist again.
It's nuts. The Wild West out here.
So yeah, I'm not by any means like popular in the Homestuck fandom.
Bro,
so
you're popular with me.
Thanks. But like I feel like I'm more connected to people who like Homestuck than I was before, where it was just like the people who I was friends with in 2011 who liked Homestuck were all my like IRL friends.
Yeah.
So it's a bit different.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing about Homestuck though. It felt like you could actually get other people into it in real life.
Yeah.
Weird.
Word of mouth.
Can't do that anymore for some reason. Like, it's impossible to make other people watch or read something. Unless it's Homestuck, I guess. I don't know.
It's the Homestuck curse.
It is.
Or maybe a blessing.
Yeah.
Probably a curse. Also, one of the things I wanted to mention was not necessarily a difference in the Homestuck fandom, but in a difference in fandom in general, is that a lot of people respect fan works way more now than they did before. Like there are a lot of like Hive Swap writers and stuff who started out writing Homestuck fanfic and they're still respected, which I find amazing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if that happened in like 2011, people would be like, they wrote a fic for the ship.
They're not valid. I'm gonna write a call out post.
Yeah, and that's just amazing.
Yeah.
It's very respectful.
Yeah. It's stunning in general that Homestuck now has like multiple official authors. Like Homestuck has, I say this a lot, but Homestuck is like always been written by its fans. But the fact that it's now literally being written
I was
by
gonna say
fans,
it's not literally written by its fans.
I mean, in part because people like sent in commands.
I know, but it wasn't like literally written.
It was
by
always
fans.
Hussey orchestrating it.
Yeah.
But now that there's like more people on it, in a way, it feels like it's so interesting, the relationship that Homestuck has always had with its readers.
Yeah, the relationship Homestuck has had with its readers since the beginning has been different than most comics or anything. Literature. Yeah, it's completely unique in that sense, at least to my knowledge.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else that like takes reader input like that.
Yeah, and like goes as far as it does, especially with like the meta of interacting with fans and how Calliope and Caliborn are like representations of the fans themselves and how Homestuck itself
and
is
the Dancestors.
Yeah, the Dancestors especially. Oh my god, the comparisons between the original trolls just being like generic, like not generic, but like
excuse
references to like internet trolls in general, and then the Dancestors being references to Homestuck fans. That's like so crazy to me.
Also,
the way it like grew into something.
Another way that Homestuck is influenced by its fans is like the majority of the main characters were named by fans.
Yeah, that's so. Dave's name was almost Chad.
What?
His
name was what?
His name was almost Chad.
I'm gonna have a stroke.
It's so funny. Bud.
I like that his name is Dave.
I love his name. I love all the characters' names. I feel
they're
like
really fitting, which I find funny. Not funny, but interesting that like fans name them, but they got the names so good.
They're perfect for them.
There's someone out there who named Carcat Vantis.
Who thought of the name Carcat? That's so cute.
It comes from I believe Swedish term for cancer.
I had no idea.
Like it's the sign cancer.
It's so cute. Beep beep meow.
Beep beep meow.
It's one of like the most fun names to just say out loud and like hear. Like Carcat. But it's like someone saying the word Carcat, and it's like, I'm home. I feel like Homestuck also influenced me, like, as someone who, like, creates my own characters, and specifically with the names in a weird way. Because I feel like the Homestuck characters all have, like, such weirdly iconic names. Like, they fit them perfectly. Like,
they definitely do.
Like, even with generic names, like fucking Dave and John, they have these, like, really specific last names, Egbert and Strider. Like, that's unforgettable. I'm never gonna forget the name Dave Strider. Who the fuck is Dave Strider? That's a guy I want to know.
Yeah. Yeah. The first names of most of the like human characters are kind of like normal names. Mm-hmm. They're not like out there, but I feel like that makes it kind of better in a way. Like the fact that their names are kind of normal. It's like that could be me.
It could be me playing Suburb, me getting my house blown up, me fucking that alien.
Next question. Speaking of how Homestuck influenced our character designs, how did it influence your art? Because I know for me, it definitely influenced my art.
Yeah, I feel like the most I ever drew was when I was in the Homestuck fandom, because I was just constantly wanting to make things or like do things, because everyone wanted to just fucking do shit. It was so cool, and it like you really caught on to the vibe.
Like how the fact that update art existed was like so I remember like feeling that like rush when someone would like post in like all caps update and then you'd read the update and you'd be like, I have to draw this.
God. And also like the amount of, I feel like because Homestuck itself used such a simple style that like it lent itself so well to other people interpreting it in like wildly different ways.
Oh yeah.
And so you get these character designs from the fans that look completely different from each other but are still recognizable as the same person. It's amazing.
It is really amazing.
You don't get that a lot, especially now that I'm like really in the anime fandom. You always get people wanting to draw the anime fandom. I hate that I said that.
The anime fandom.
You disgusting. But a lot like more into anime and like people who draw anime-esque styles. It's like you want to be on model. Like being on model is like get you the most reputation. When in Homestuck, like the community, the thing that got you like the most like love in a weird way rather than reputation was like putting your own heart into the characters. People like saw themselves in the characters and it was like so personal.
In the comic there are like parts with the handmaid and Aradia where they're like, render yourself in a more symbolic manner right now. And I feel like there's
so funny.
Definitely a lot. Yeah, it is really funny. There's definitely a lot of Homestuck that's symbolic.
Mm-hmm.
So these are representations of the kids, but they're like symbols.
Yeah.
In a way. It's like, this is a symbol that represents John, but it's not what John looks like. Yeah. He's not FFFFF. Like
FFFF white.
Like he's
a person. He's the person that you see him as.
I love the fact that this is like one of the only fandoms I can think of where you could see like all different kinds of, say, John.
Mm-hmm.
and you can immediately recognize, oh, that's John.
Yeah.
It's like this John is black and this John is Asian, but they're both John.
Yeah.
Like you can tell.
And it changes nothing about who John is. It's just John.
Yeah.
That's your boy.
It's just fandom interpretations are amazing. And
yes, correct.
I wish there were some more fandoms like that.
Yeah, me too. It's so hard to get something like that.
Even in books.
Yeah.
Like, books and Homestuck is just like, no.
Yeah.
Bro, do it.
There's something, like, really beautiful in the simplicity of the presentation. But even then, it's not that simple. It's like...
Yeah, it's actually really intricate. And PSA right now to everyone and anyone listening who is like, actually, Hutsy's a bad artist.
I'll kill you with my bare hand.
Read the Midnight Callio.
Yeah, I fucking read that shit. It was good, and it fucking shocked me, the art.
His art is not bad.
His art is incredible.
I think people misunderstand the simplistic art style of Homestuck to be quote-unquote bad.
Yeah.
Because it's simple.
They're objectively wrong.
There are a lot of scenes in Homestuck that are really detailed, actually.
Yeah. God, like, again, back to the scene with Tavros and Vriska, where Vriska's dying on her quest bed.
That's
but
a
that whole
beautiful
scene is, like, rendered in, like, really beautiful colors. And, like, the style, like, shifts to fit the tone of that scene. And it's really good. Like, rereading it, I was like, this is cinematic. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And there are, like, quite a few scenes like that. It's really good.
Yeah.
Homestuck.
Homestuck is good. Is Homestuck good? It is amazing. Is Homestuck bad? It's bad. So yeah. Definitely Homestuck is really good in regards to influencing art and influencing creativity in people.
Yeah. That's always been one of the best things about it.
Some of the most creative works I've ever seen have come out of the Homestuck
Dude, you're so correct.
fandom. Yeah. The Homestuck fandom is wildly creative.
Yeah. Anyway. Homestuck.
In other ways, Homestuck influenced us that we have on this outline is that Homestuck, I think a lot of people judge Homestuck in a way that I would not judge Homestuck, in that they don't think about the fact that Homestuck is revolutionary for its time in its representation of gay and queer characters.
For real.
I can't think of anything else in 2009 that had quite such a cast of queer characters.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
All of the trolls were queer.
Yeah.
That's 12 main characters that are queer.
The only other things, at that time were, literal yaoi and, Yuri series. And most of them, especially the ones that had more than, one pairing, were not well written. I mean,
see Junjo Romantica.
Exactly. I enjoyed Junjo Romantica, but it was I know this is poorly written. I'm just enjoying seeing something gay because it's something that's not straight.
Yeah, what do you have in 2009? You have Junjo Romantica, Glee. And
Ew, Glee was so big at the time
Homestuck.
too. That's that shows how thirsty people were for anything that's not straight.
I remember
Glee wasn't good.
Glee was terrible, but I watched it for Blaine and Kurt.
Exactly. People,
because I wanted the gays so bad.
And I feel like that influenced Homestuck itself, because Homestuck was influenced by the internet and by its fans. It's so much of the internet is queer people seeking solace in other queer people because they don't have an outlet for that in real life.
It would be, yeah, and Homestuck is such a reflection of internet culture that it'd be so fucking dumb if everyone was straight.
Honestly. Name one straight person who's ever used the internet.
Jane Crocker. She's the only one. And even then.
Oh, that's really funny.
Yeah. And also I didn't know I was gay until after I read Homestuck. So there's that.
Yeah. I knew I was, I came out to my friends as bisexual in 6th grade, and one of my friends said, "No, you're not." It's okay, whatever. But I didn't really talk about it other than that one moment until Homestuck, because the trolls were all bi, and I was like, whoa, all of them. You could it doesn't matter. Shit, what the fuck? But even then, Kanaya was I'm lesbian. And I was what? I mean, she didn't say that. Hussey said that for her.
No, she said that.
She told me. That. She told Rose. But that was just so fascinating and deeply heartwarming to me that like so many characters were bi and then were also gay. And it was like, shit, that's awesome. I love that.
Rose can be gay. I can be gay.
Oh my god, when Rosemary was canon was like, that was fucking like astonishing to me. So I was like, shipping only happens in fandom, right? Like they're not actually gonna make him gay. But Rose, she lesbian. I was like, whoa, they kissed, they're in love.
I remember when the Rosemary kiss happened and I lost my mind.
Me too. I was on that old vlog the other day and I saw like when it happened and I was like losing my fucking mind. I was like, yeah, it's happening. Like shit, this never happens. It never happens where the people that the characters that people think are queer actually end up being queer. Like how often does that happen?
In Homestuck,
all the time.
And anything else, never.
Yeah. It happens like once every like 30 years.
Yeah, if we're lucky. Yeah, Homestuck.
I mean, that's changing a lot now because of Homestuck and like people who were fans of Homestuck or like things that were Homestuck adjacent.
Yeah, Homestuck definitely changed the way that series treat gay characters and queer characters. Yeah, I can't think of like anything else I was into before that had queer characters on that level.
Yeah. I feel like I've gone back now and like found Ikuhara, so it's like, oh shit, he was doing this shit in the 90s, but like he was the only one and he was in Japan. So it's like, where are you guys?
In Japan.
Apparently, just him. And even then, in his own studio, he had to fight for Utena and Anthy to be gay.
God damn it. Homestuck is just so meaningful in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Like, it's meaningful to people, like to individual fans, but it's also meaningful in the way that it influenced internet culture.
Yeah.
It's a reflection of internet culture that also influenced internet culture, which is very hilarious and dumb and paradoxical.
The cycle of stupidity.
It's not complete.
It's not. It keeps going. Man, that's part of also what just makes it beautiful. It just keeps getting more and more meta the more we go along. It's just fucking gorgeous.
Like the end of Hive Swap Friendsome.
Friendsome is so fucking good, and I'm so glad it exists.
As am I.
I never thought, like, one, I never would have thought back in the day that something like this would exist, and two, there was no guarantee that I could have liked it, but in reading it, it was so fucking good.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect, and I feel like it blew my expectations.
Yeah. Hive Swap really said we live in a society.
Tyzius said this.
The love of my life.
Yeah. Hive Swap is really good.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Hive Swap podcast.
Also, Jake English, pay your fucking child support challenge.
He failed. I can't wait till we get to talk about Jake English on this podcast.
I am always talking about Jake English.
Jake English he's way different than I do.
Okay, can I say, I feel like Jake English, looking at him, like, it's a real call-out post at myself. It really makes me look at the specific parts of myself that are terrible. It makes me go, yeah, I should fix that, probably.
Because you're a Prospit Dreamer.
It's because I'm a Prospit Dreamer. We don't think.
We don't think. I'm not a Prospit Dreamer, but I also don't think. I'm like half Prospit on my mom's side or something. I don't know. That wasn't funny. Why are you laughing?
Half Prospit on my mom's side. Do you want to talk about our own class specs?
Oh, I'm the dumbass of podcast.
No, your real one. The actual one that you like see yourself as.
I need to reclass myself because I class spec'd myself when I was 13.
Yeah.
And I'm a very different person now.
Mm-hmm.
But according to the extended Zodiac test, I am a Hope player. Which is before I was a Doom player. So there's a little bit of a difference. So I used to be the Mage of Doom. For now, I'm going with the Mage of Hope and the Massive Podcast.
My new title is the Noob of Podcast, I guess.
New? That's
New.
not new at all.
What?
You said new title.
Oh. I always had that class spec, and I just never understood when I would make a podcast.
Yeah.
No, but mine has always been the Witch of Heart.
It's not.
It is. It is.
She took the extended zodiac codes and got life.
Shut up.
She doesn't want to admit it.
I don't like the colors. They're ugly, and I don't want to be a life player.
Mina said this.
It looks bad. I like the heart one more. And I also just do feel it fits me. Like, and even though I'm a Prospit Dreamer that doesn't think, I feel like my heart prospect would cover the parts of me that do think. Because when I do think, it's about myself and how shitty I am.
That's a very heart player thing to do. Dirk said that.
Exactly.
I keep mentioning Dirk. We need a ban on Dirk.
Kanaya, he said this. But I'm not sure about which though. I have not asked that class. I'm a Prospit Dreamer. I have to go back into the class parts and learn more about it again because perspectives have changed since the last time I looked. And every time I do look now, I'm like confused. But I do still identify with heart a lot.
Yeah.
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 So that's our podcast, I guess. Yeah. I feel like we haven't mentioned anything about this yet, so I feel like it's kind of necessary.
Mm-hmm.
E-boy Hussy.
E-boy Hussy is real, and we spoke him into existence by talking about E-boy Karkat for like 3 weeks straight.
I said you could not mention E-boy Karkat.
You knew I was gonna. Karkat is objectively an e-boy in every sense of the word. He's an e-boy. Just, there's no other way to describe him. He's an e-boy. See, also an e-boy.
Yeah.
Let's just have e-boy stuck.
That's just Homestuck. Yeah, so Hussy's an e-boy now. Would he be an e-man?
No, he's a boy.
Oh, okay.
He's a big boy. He's like 40.
I feel like this was inevitable.
Yeah.
That Hussy would become an e-boy.
He looks great though.
Yeah.
He looks like super fashionable.
He's killing it.
He is.
I'm proud.
Honestly, I feel happier for him, like knowing that he's like being an e-boy rather than like the idea of him like sitting like alone in his house, like being afraid of Homestuck fans or something. Like
how I live my life.
He never like or for a long time he was like, especially during the Gigapause, which is like a lot of what I remember from back in the day, or like all the pauses. Like he wasn't interacting with his fans as much because of everything that was just going on with the series and whatever. But it's good to see him know that he's being his little e-boy self. I'm happy for him. I hope he's doing okay.
Yeah. Me too. I love to see the horse in his Instagram pictures. He's still into horses.
Always.
Yeah.
Andrew Hussey is a horse girl.
Anyway, next.
do you actually have any like final words on
e-boy Hussy or
no the podcast for the final or the first?
We got a
This is our final podcast.
This is the last episode. Maybe actually. So we have a tweet from Homestuck.
Oh my god. Yeah, I forgot.
I never forget. It has a MSPA reader in front of the Spurb logo.
This really is the Homestuck Renaissance.
It's very ominous.
Yeah.
And knowing that the Homestuck logo is a juju, do you think MSPA readers gonna release John, Rose, and Dave and Jade from the Homestuck logo, or is it just representational?
Gonna release them from the narrative itself. Homestuck fundamentally changes.
Isn't that what the epilogue is about?
Yeah. Well, kind of.
I've never read Homestuck.
Listen, you should read it.
I know.
Have you heard of this Homestuck thing?
No, I don't think
it's got like candy corn horn.
It sounds like it's for nerds.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
And that's the podcast.
Yeah, I did have like some sappy final words I wanted to say.
You should say them.
That made me like want to cry that you just patted me just now. Like, I don't know.
Are you okay?
Yeah. It's gonna be therapy stuck, bro.
Is it?
It is.
Okay.
I feel like it's pretty obvious that I have not been like the most mentally stable person in the past like year. And I feel like rereading Homestuck like was kind of coming back to something that was important to me, especially like whenever I first started feeling like a lot of really shitty feelings growing up, you know, like realizing the situation you're in and like the type of world you live in. I'm crying. Okay. But like, and things about yourself and just like growing up and depression and like anxiety and like all that shit. And so like coming back to it at a time where I'm feeling all that again, it's like, shit, man. I don't know. It's just, it's a weird comfort in the cycle of health. And I feel like being able to talk to you about Homestuck again, it's like, it's been really good for our friendship. And I have so much fun talking to you. I love you. I'm crying. But
I feel better. Like, I feel better in general.
Yeah.
The fact that I'm able to, like, enjoy this thing that's brought me so much joy.
Yeah.
Even though I took a break for several years.
Yeah. That's the thing with, like, a lot of things I love. Like, I never really give up on them. I just kind of, like, wait until I, like, need them to come back to, like, enjoy them again.
Yeah.
And not necessarily, like, they come back, but, like, I come back to them, you know? Like, coming back to Homestuck, it was time, and it feels good.
Yeah.
And I'm having fun.
It's very sweet. I feel like I'm at a good place in general in my life to be actually appreciative of what Homestuck has to offer and stuff.
Like the shit it has to say.
Yeah, if oh boy, Homestuck is just
Yeah.
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 Is that it? Is that
I guess so. I want to eventually talk about how meaningful Dave's character arc was to me.
Oh, for sure.
But that's a whole episode.
Fucking Dave time. I'm ready to go off about Dave with you for like
Dave time?
Anyway, that's the end. Bye.